This is Democracy Watch. Marc, at this point, Elon Musk's daily $1 million payments to registered voters in swing states have made national headlines. The DOJ has now stepped in. So what's the latest on that front?
Yeah, as you point out, Elon Musk, I don't think thought this through well, or at least didn't think it through well with lawyers in advance, probably. But he came up with this scheme that he was going to give $1 million to people who were registered voters in one of the swing states who signed a petition. He wasn't going to give, by the way, $1 million to each and every one of them. He was going to pick one at random, and one of those people would get $1 million. And he had, I think, a big check that he delivered to the first guy who got it. And of course, immediately there were like red flags flying from law professors, lawyers, people who maybe just even had a passing familiarity with US election law flag this. This was not a hard one to figure out, Brian. And eventually it led to the Department of Justice actually sending a letter to him that said, essentially, you may be violating the federal criminal laws here in the United States, and you should stop.
Okay, so a lot to unpack there. But first off, to your exact point, experts have said that this kind of sweepstakes is illegal. So do you think Elon's going to face any consequences here?
So if it was not Elon Musk, if it was like Eric Moskowitz who was doing this and running kind of like a numbers racket on the side in Philadelphia and doing this kind of thing, yeah, Eric Moskowitz would have definitely faced it. If this was just a regular person and they were running an illegal sweepstakes, there have been instances where the Department of Justice has actually prosecuted, because you're not allowed to give a thing of value in order to register to vote. You're not allowed to give money to people in order to register or to vote. And I'll tell you a story, from a few years ago that, there was a promotion by a national coffee chain. I won't say which one, but you can go Google it. That was said, if you come in after you vote with an I voted sticker, we will give you a free cup of coffee. Now, by the way, they were giving a small cup of coffee, and there were no like syrups or any of that stuff, right? It was just like a plain cup of coffee.
Yeah.
But they stopped because they were told that you couldn't do that. And that was like clearly an effort to be like a civic engagement. I mean, they were clearly trying to do this for all the right reasons. They were not targeting swing states. They weren't targeting types of voters. But the Department of Justice polices this stuff, as do, by the way, various states. There are also states that have laws against lotteries and against these kind of things, games of chance or and the like, that have nothing to do with elections. And I know that that the Pennsylvania governor suggested that maybe they're looking at that.
But when you have somebody who is a billionaire, the richest person in the world like Elon, and you refuse to take any action against him, doesn't that just create more problems? Because then you embolden more billionaires to do exactly this, because he's already established the precedent with the DOJ that they're going to be too afraid to go after anybody with any significant holdings?
Yeah, I think it creates bad incentives in a couple of ways. The first is, as you say, it creates kind of an immunity, right? To use a good word, creates kind of an immunity. And we have seen that is part and parcel of the Trump ethos, not just because he wanted immunity from the US Supreme Court and got it, but going back to Donald Trump's, famous words as he was exiting the bus with Billy Bush in the original Access Hollywood tape. He talked about what famous men in that instance were able to get away with, right? I mean, like there's this notion that if you are rich and powerful in the Trump orbit, that you can sort of get away with anything. And it sort of creates, as you say, a contempt for the law there. But it does something else that I think we have to pay attention to. There's a lot of preaching among conservatives about how, you cannot allow petty crime to go by, because if people show contempt of the law, if they fair jump or whatever, it encourages other kinds of crimes. Well, guess what? When people see that billionaires get away with things, that creates contempt for the law too.
Right.
Because the rest of people are looking and being like, I don't understand why he gets to do this, and I can't run a betting pool, or I can't have, a horse race betting thing, or I can't have a lottery for my local civic club without having to jump through 13 hoops.
Right.
And so, it is a terrible, terrible precedent. And I would frankly love to see the Department of Justice do more than send a letter, but they won't do more than send a letter.
I'm curious, based on what you had said before, I feel like it would be an interesting thought experiment here if a regular person decided to do the exact same thing on a smaller scale. Obviously, a regular person doesn't have $1 million to give away, but even if it's $100 or $50 per day, and see what the DOJ does to that person. Or if we have 10 people do it or 100 people do it, and see if the DOJ is willing to take any action against those people, because I feel like that would, if it was a completely analogous situation, that would really put on full display whether this is actually illegal and they're just too afraid to enforce it because they're afraid of Elon Musk.
So yeah, look, this is a really good point. I mean, let's just take this out of like the billionaires and presidential election. Let's just say that you had someone, in a state where abortion is front and center on the ballot and where there's like a lot of passion about it. So let's just say that they're in Florida, right, where Ron DeSantis is the governor, and you have a very important ballot initiative, pro-choice ballot initiative happening there, and it's also a central issue in the elections. Let's just say there was a young woman named Hannah who was, putting together get out the vote operation, right? She was committed to making sure that every one of her friends was registered to vote because she really wanted to make sure that this initiative passed in Florida. And so she goes to her boyfriend named Alex and says, "Hey, I got an idea. Let's put together a thing where, we'll kick in $20 and like a 6-pack of beer among our friends, and who will all agree that they will register to vote, and they'll come prove that they registered to vote. And then we'll pick a name out of the hat, and one of them will get the beer and the other will get $20. And just imagine that took off and became a big thing. Right. So it wasn't just like 6 or 10 friends, but all of a sudden it was sweeping the college campus. And all of a sudden, Ron DeSantis got wind. Yeah. Right. Imagine Ron DeSantis got wind of that, where there were 1,000 or 2,000 students that had sort of bought into this, and at stake was Hannah's $20 bill and Alex's, 6-pack of beer. Do you have any doubt what would happen? Do you have any doubt what Republicans would be saying? Do you have any doubt what Ron DeSantis would unleash on Alex and Hannah?
Ron DeSantis would co-opt the local auditorium to make it a makeshift jail. He would be so falling over himself to make sure that every single person who participated was held accountable for it.
Absolutely. And so that's the problem. When you let the billionaires do this at scale, it's almost like too big to fail, right? They figure, well, like, you can't come after us. But that sends the message to the Hannahs and the Alexes that we live in two Americas, one for the powerful and the rich, who agree with Donald Trump, and the other who are just trying to help pass, good pro-abortion rules and laws in Florida.
It seems that the DOJ has come forward with nothing more than just this warning here. What does that mean? Isn't it up to the Justice Department to make a determination one way or the other, and if he's broken the law, that they should just charge him? Like, shouldn't the nation's premier law enforcement agency be able to just make that determination without hemming and hawing or sending a strongly worded letter without actually making that determination?
Well, so this is the question. I mean, I haven't seen the letter, but it does raise a question. Like, does the Department of Justice look stronger or weaker from this?
Right.
On one hand, they would say, well, look, we sent a letter. But on the other hand, if you send a letter and then like nothing changes, it's like, well, how did you look stronger? Right. Like, what are you willing to do about it? And so I understand the Department of Justice, they're within the 30-day period before the election. They don't want to be accused of being politicized.
But that doesn't mean the DOJ doesn't respond to instances of criminal behavior because we're within 30. I mean, if the DOJ isn't going to do anything within that 30-day period, then that's a green light for criminals to commit criminal behavior, because the DOJ is going to be too worried about optics of politicization as opposed to actually reining in criminal behavior.
Yeah, look, and that is obviously the concern, right? That is obviously the concern here with where we are, because Donald Trump doesn't care about rules and laws and norms. And, Elon Musk is now totally on Team Trump. And so, the fear is that it doesn't just allow the status quo to go forward, but it actually enables it. It creates a even more incentive for thumbing the nose at the law and showing that it is toothless. And so, as we head towards the final days before the election and then the post-election, we certainly don't want to be sending messages to Donald Trump and his billionaire friends that they can flout the law.
Well, you'd mentioned the post-election period here, I think this is a good opportunity to let our audience know that you, me, and Jamie Raskin will be having a discussion on October 29th about exactly this period, about what the law says, what we should expect here. So for those watching right now, if you want to sign up to participate, to be a part of this town hall event that we're going to host on October 29th, I'll put the link right here on the screen and also in the post description of this video. So make sure to sign up. Any questions that you have, you can throw them in the comments of this video right here too, and we'll do our best to make sure everything gets answered. Marc, do you have anything on that event?
Yeah, I'm thrilled about this event. And look, Jamie Raskin is the leading constitutional lawyer in Congress. People don't realize he was actually a professor of constitutional law before he came to Congress. And Brian, there is no one I could want more to host this event with me than you. I mean, you have been such a champion on these issues, and you are so engaging, and you're a best-selling author. I mean, let's not look. I mean, New York Times best-selling auther.
Well,
and so I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled that we're doing this, and thank you very much for agreeing.
And of course, I'm very much looking forward to it. Again, for those who are watching right now, if you want to be able to follow along and participate in that, again, we'll put the link right here on the screen and in the post description of this video. And of course, to support the invaluable work that Marc and his team are doing in the courts, which is ground zero right now, please make sure to sign up for Democracy Docket. It's the free news outlet he founded to focus on everything voting in elections, and it is an excellent resource that I use on a daily basis. I'm Brian Tyler Cohen.
I'm Marc Elias.
This is Democracy Watch.